In the Trump trial, we are arriving at the moment of truth, if truth was an easy-to-get commodity in this trial. Michael Cohen is set to return to the witness stand Monday when defense attorneys will finish their cross-examination of him. This comes as we've seen a slew of Trump supporters traveling to New York to attend the former president's trial. To name just a few, we've seen House Speaker Mike Johnson and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, former presidential campaign rival Vivek Ramaswamy, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, Congressman Matt Gaetz. Now we're learning that Jeffrey Clark was in the courtroom yesterday. Clark, you might remember, had been indicted in Georgia for aiding Trump in his efforts to overturn the 2020 elections in that state, and possibly would be part of a second Trump administration if Donald Trump is reelected this November. Former Trump Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci joins us now. Anthony, good to see you. What do you make of all the support we're seeing Donald Trump get in the courtroom from these high-ranking Republican officials?
Well, it's a section of high-ranking Republican officials, but it's an obligatory loyalty test by all of them. They're using the same hand signals as Donald Trump. They're wearing the same outfits as Donald Trump, but it'll never be enough for Donald Trump. And so, unfortunately for all of those guys, Michael Cohen has learned this. Other people, myself included, that have worked for Mr. Trump, there's no pleasing him, and he's incredibly transactional. And so if he has to run you over with the bus or hit you with the car 5 minutes after he shook your hand and smiled at you charmingly, he'll do that.
So Michael Cohen has testified about his years of loyalty and looking up to Donald Trump. That all changed around the time Trump went to the White House and didn't bring Michael Cohen into the administration. What do you think ultimately went wrong in that relationship that leads us to this moment?
Well, I've said this, Jay, it's a groupie thing. Michael, by his own self-admission, he was in love with the atmospherics around Donald Trump. He was in love with the access to the television stars and The Apprentice, and a result of which he went overboard. And I think this is a learning lesson for everybody, particularly those politicians standing outside the courthouse. Don't be anybody's groupie, because once you become somebody's groupie, you start to lose your judgment and you start projecting. So when Michael said, I'll take a bullet for the guy, he was really hoping from a projection point of view that Donald Trump was thinking that about him. But of course, Trump thinks that about nobody. So what went wrong is when Michael got in trouble for something he did for Donald Trump and Trump walked away from him, that started the loyalty break. And remember, for viewers and listeners out there, loyalty is symmetrical. Love may be unconditional, that you as a parent with your children, hopefully you with your spouse, but loyalty is symmetrical. And Mr. Trump believes in asymmetrical loyalty. This is why all of his relationships end in this type of darkness.
During Michael Cohen's cross-examination, Mr. Trump's defense attorney, Todd Blanche, rattled off a list of people whom Cohen has blamed for his wrongdoing, for his guilty plea. Blanche said, quote, "You blame a lot of people over the years for the conduct that you were convicted of." Cohen: "I blame people, yes." Blanche: "You blame your accountant." Cohen: "Correct." Blanche: "At times you blame the bank." Cohen: "Correct." Blanche: "You blame federal prosecutors." Cohen: "Yes, sir." Blanche then added judges and Donald Trump, to which Cohen also responded, "Yes, yes." There are a lot of people who think yesterday was a good day for Donald Trump in court, that Michael Cohen, his credibility was really undermined. What do you think?
Well, listen, I read through the transcript, and I think what Trump's defense attorney was trying to do is show the grievance, and he was trying to position Michael as having a pity party for himself. And the problem with all of this is Michael is under oath. He's already had a problem with perjury before, and so it would have been impossible for him to answer those questions any other way than the way he answered them. And I'm sure on redirect, the prosecutors are going to bring out that Mr. Cohen, through this testimony, even the rough parts of the testimony, has been extremely honest. And of course, it'll be up to the judge to explain to the jury that it's their job to look at the facts of the case. And if you believe the veracity of the case and Michael Cohen has brought the receipts, then it's your job to opine on the law as it is written, not your opinion. And so I think it was a rough day optically, but not a rough day substantially.
So you're not a lawyer, but you did go to Harvard Law. Do you have a prediction? How do you think the jury's going to find?
Yeah, Jake, you had to remind my mother that I'm not a lawyer. I gotta call my agent after this. So, no, I'm kidding. What I would say here is that Mr. Trump is guilty, and I know he's innocent until proven guilty. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, let the jury decide that. But he's guilty. He's guilty on the facts of the case. What I worry about as it relates to justice is there one, possibly two MAGA types on that jury that can't be persuaded by those facts. And if that's the case, it's a hung jury and life goes on. Mr. Trump is the presumptive nominee, whether he's guilty or not. And the battle will begin when the case is over. The battle's there now, but I'm talking the heightened level of combativeness will happen when this case is over.
But what do you think is what does your gut tell you is going to happen? I've spoken to people who support Donald Trump and who are rather clear-eyed about this trial, who think that there probably will be at least one or two jurors who will say that they have reasonable doubt. What do you think?
Yeah, so then you've got a hung jury. He gets effectively acquitted. He'll try to use that in his fundraising. He'll try to suggest that this was a political theatrics and a stunt. But then, the country has a short attention span. We'll be moving on to the issues related to the campaign. If he is guilty, though, and there are people that are better experts at this than me, I can't honestly see how he goes to jail, Jake. I don't think the U.S. Marshals or the Secret Service are going to want to see that from a logistical point of view. And so he probably ends up with some level of confinement and a fine that may slow down the campaign a little. But I don't see any permutational outcome here where this is a real marker in the campaign, meaning he's found guilty. Judge says, okay, you got to go to jail for 3 years or something like that. I don't see any possibility of that happening. So we'll see what happens. But here's one thing I will say. If he's found guilty and it's a felony, and that's harped on in November, there are independents have said that they would drop any potential support for him. And I know his campaign. I know the people there very well. I know they would be bummed out about that.
Yeah. Anthony Scaramucci, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.